A lot of these foreign players or players who are not used to this, they will certainly remove. So before you do that, you always have to insist and tell the player and people around you. There will always be chaotic. The whole place is chaotic. So you always have to hold the hand. You see that on TV. The lead is holding the neck, and then somebody distracts him, and then he'll move the hands out. But always keep the hands there. That's all I have to
Okay, that's fine. One last thing is that if there's a medical emergency, the ambulance people should have what is called an automatic defibrillator. So they'll just open it 2 seconds just for you to listen, and then just open it so that they can.
Tear open package and remove pads.
Yeah.
This is used.
Tear open package and remove pads. Peel.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So the thing is talking. He'll explain what it says here.
This is used when you can't feel any pulse. You can't feel anything. Airway is obstructed. Everything is obstructed, and the heart is just going down. That you can't do anything. You use this to restart the heart. By placing it, we have 2 pads on it.
They have some pads, yeah. I don't want to put it.
Yeah, we have 2 pads.
Tear open package and remove pads.
Put one down there.
Tear open package and remove pads. Peel one pad from plastic liner.
The device will give you an instruction that what you should do, because the device is going to assess the whole body to determine whether you should apply the shock
or not
to apply. So it will text you. There's a space here. It will text you that apply it or not to apply.
Tear open package and remove pads.
So it just keeps talking in a stepwise fashion. At the appropriate stage, it will tell you to apply the shock, and then there's a button you press it, and listen. Yeah. Okay.
That's right.
Okay, so not to take much more of the time. That's just basic listening. We can take a couple of questions if anybody has anything. Otherwise,
the questions will come up.
Oh, questions will come up. Okay, that's fine. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bako and his team. Let's give them a round of applause. I believe it's been an interesting session, but without much ado, we will go to Dr. Antoniana, who will be speaking to us about sports nutrition and supplements. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Antoniana.
So how do we prevent our players from getting dehydrated? I'll just look at the American College of Sports Medicine policy statement regarding free therapy. And this has been very comprehensively done, and it's been adopted by many associations as the recommendation for them. So I'll quickly go through it. The policy statement says that we should consume a nutritionally balanced diet and drink adequate fluids during the 24-hour period for an event. So you should encourage your players to eat and drink whatever your nutrition tells you before the event. They shouldn't starve before the event. Now, 2 hours before the game, you need to drink at least 500 ml of fluid to promote adequate hydration, and then this is to allow time for excretion of the excess ingested water. Use at a rate sufficient to replace all the water loss. Now you encourage your athletes to drink before they become thirsty. Thirst is a sign that you are already dehydrated. That means you are way behind the process. So they should drink before they get thirsty. Once they get thirsty and they start drinking, you've still lost the game. Now the ingested fluids should be cooler than ambient temperature. So don't give them warm water. The water should be cold. So if it's ice water, it should be ice water, 15 degrees to 20 degrees. And then it should taste nice, like the previous speaker said. And then the fluid should be readily available with minimum interaction of play. Yesterday, during the test match with the national hockey team, we were talking about where they had their bottles of water, and apparently each player had a bottle of water in his kit. So when they went to the field of play, the water is in their bags. It's not accessible. The water should be at the touch line so that they can pick it up every single moment they want to. Now, during exercise lasting less than an hour, plain water is adequate. Proper amounts of carbohydrates or electrolytes should be added to the fluid replacement solution if exercise is going to last more than 1 hour. And then you need to add some carbohydrates to achieve. Carbohydrate intake can be achieved without compromising fluid delivery by drinking 600 to 1,200 ml an hour of solution containing 4 to 8% carbohydrates. So, what if your player is already dehydrated? There are so many options for you. Water and sports drinks are available for your dehydration. Salt tablets, which should be available to all sports people, is there for you to replace sodium loss. And one of the highest concentrations of potassium can be found in bananas. You can see that set up over there, lots of water, lots of sports drinks, and lots of bananas. It contains a high amount of potassium. And when a person has a severe cases of fluid and electrolyte loss, then you need to infuse them with electrolyte. I was looking through the AfHf regulation whether we were allowed to give our players maybe some normal saline or Ringer's lactate at halftime, and then mixing. So, but at least in the NFL they are allowed to do that. You can actually then set a drip on them. So let's look at the sports drinks available to us. Water is the universal sports drink. It's available, readily available. Everywhere you are, you see water. It's cheap. And it's adequate if the event lasts less than an hour. The disadvantage is that it has no calorie content, so there's no energy in it, there's no electrolyte. And if you drink too much water over a period of 3 hours in like a long distance running, you can actually get water intoxication. Then the other sports drinks, these are the ones on the market, Powerade, Gatorade, depending on where you come from. These are very good because they contain carbohydrates which provides energy as well as water. It also contains electrolytes in proportions. It's nice to taste, it's palatable. You drink it, you like it. Not like Dr. Simon, next time you Powerade, you like it. But unfortunately, it's expensive. We're trying to get it for our players and we just can't get it. It's not available even on the Ghanaian market. I know it's available in South Africa. Is it available in Egypt readily? You have energy drinks in Egypt.
They have another brand.
They have another brand. We don't have a brand. So maybe we should start looking at getting this a brand. The fruit juices. Soft drinks, Coke, Fanta, etc. It's not recommended for the athletes during game time. It has a high concentration of sugar, high glycemic index. What happens when you take these drinks is that you have a surge of energy because of the high sugar, and then there's a reflex hypoglycemia, and then your players just burn out. And then it can upset your athlete's family. You don't want half of your team to start complaining of diarrhea or stomach upset. But if you have to use any of these, okay, just for palatability, you need to dilute it to very low concentration. So if your athletes want to drink your water, you want to use Fanta, dilute it to about 1:4 or 5 before you use it. Then fruit juices, we normally don't use fruit juices. They don't contain the electrolytes, and they have a very high risk of tummy upset. There are a lot of people who drink pineapple, they run. So it's not recommended during the field of play.
A minute more.
The energy drinks. These are energy drinks are for people who go to the night club. not for hockey players. They don't contain electrolytes. They have a high level of caffeine. I looked up the caffeine content, and it will not put you into doping violation if you drink it, but it still has a high level of caffeine. But the fizzy nature can cause stomach cramps, and it can actually cause you to become dehydrated if you take too much of these. Then the last one is beer.
Wow.
Yeah. Beer is a good drink, honestly. No, your players will come and ask you, can I take beer? They will ask you, But the truth of the matter is that it has a high carbohydrate and calorie content. That's why when we drink, we get possibilities. So for a player who has finished a game, and he needs energy, beer is a good way to provide that energy. But there's a but. If it's an amateur player like me, then it's allowed. But then if it's a professional player who needs to play again the second game, it's not recommended. And then it also acts as a small diuretic. It makes you pee a lot, so it can actually make you dehydrated. I brought this slide because a lot of people get these questions asked them. So in summary, I hope I've been able to talk to you about why we need to look at our dehydration, our players, and then the fluids available for us to use. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Flo. I believe this is not going to serve as an impetus for people to start drinking beer. Otherwise, Dr. Engman will get them at the doping center. Anyway, thank you very much. That was a very good presentation. Let's give him another round of applause. That was good. I think after Dr. Agbepo's presentation, my work here ends. But let me give brief summaries about what the various speakers have told us today, and then we'll allow for questions. Dr. Engman spoke about the doctor's bag and said that the size depends on the individual team and then the needs of the athlete, and then availability of medical facilities, and also hitherto doctors were only called when there was a problem, but now they are part of the team to ensure that there's performance enhancement and also to ensure the athlete's safety. And then Dr. Buckle and his team also came and then gave us a demonstration on how we could manage an injured player. In fact, a scenario of what we saw, and it was really heartwarming. And he said that the doctor must know the ABCs of handling, and especially for a patient, an athlete with neck injury, we should make sure that the one who is handling the neck area doesn't leave that place. That is very, very important. I didn't know this, so I'm also going to put it into my pocket. And then Dr. Antoniana came again and spoke about sports nutrition and said that nutrition makes a lot of difference in a player winning or losing. And he also said that hydration and electrolytes are very necessary. And he spoke about optimal fluid replacement beverages, which must taste good, because athletes might reject them if they are not, and also that they should have the needed sodium and then energy substrates that are requisite or required. Then we had our last presenter, Dr. Oklu, coming to talk to us about dehydration, fluid and electrolyte treatment. And then he spoke about excessive loss of water from the body as the definition of dehydration, and that he said that sweating leads to a lot of water loss from the body of about 1 to 1.2 kilogram per hour in a very energetic athlete. He also spoke on signs and symptoms and also prevention of dehydration. And I believe that after his presentation, he made a very important statement about the kind of drinks we could take. And beer came in, and I believe that I will not drink it anyway. But then they have been very wonderful presentation. Thank you very much for listening to, and thank you our resource persons for the way you dealt with the topics. We will allow for some questions. If you have any question pertaining to any of the things that have so far been discussed, you can let your hand go up, and then we'll invite you to ask your question. And I believe they will do justice to the questions that you ask. Thank you. Yeah, there's a hand up here. Madam, you mention your name and then ask your question.
My name is Dr. Megan Howard. I'm a resident at College Department of Surgery. The presentation made by Dr. Engman, I really thought he was going to tell us the items in the doctor's bag. So, I mean, I'm sure there will be constant items that you get in a bag, and there'll be variables depending on what the team is. So if you could just tell us the constant items to be found in a doctor's bag and the variables that specifics. Thank you.
Right, thanks. Basically, what you are supposed to avoid is, first of all, the prohibited list of substances. However, I spoke about the emergencies. You need your epinephrine, you need your painkillers. You can start from head to toe. Your painkillers, your bronchodilators, then your beta blockers, then the epinephrine, then you go to the GIT, your antidiarrheals, your antacids, and so on. But what I didn't want to do is to give you the exhaustive list, because first of all, you're talking about first aid. But we are more interested in what is of significance to the team. That's why I'm saying that all these things are based on your experiences with the players. A lot of times we carry items that are not really necessary for the teams, especially when you're dealing with an elite athlete. He comes with his bag full of items that are very, very close to his heart, and that also influence whatever he does on the pitch. So just, I mean, at this level, the first aid, there's nothing like constant list of items, but you must know exactly what, as a doctor or healthcare personnel, what you must carry with you at all times. But you can think about it this way, from head to toe. Anything that can affect you, either in terms of your performance or your comfort or convenience. Satisfied?
Okay. She's not really satisfied at this stage. Yeah, the gentleman there, can you?
I just want to pass a comment about the rehydration and ask a question as well. I know we have Lucozade Sport, not Lucozade, Lucozade Sport on the market. And I just want to find out from Dr. Oklu whether he thinks that's an appropriate use. And then also, in terms of rehydration of athletes, for example, now we are in a wet season, as opposed to probably in March where we were in a very hot season. Whether the sort of drinks you may take would vary.
Your athletes, you want complex carbohydrates. So Lucozade Sports, it's okay. What I couldn't figure out was was whether it was for during game or after game, because there's some drinks that are just good for replenishing after the game, and then there are some that are for the game. That's what I couldn't figure out. But for me, I recommend that you use it after the game to rehydrate, because these players lose a lot of calories during the game. I mean, they're going to play 2 matches in 2 days. They lose a lot of calories. How do you replenish your calories and then go back the following day? That's one issue. And the other issue is, once playing that match, how do you replenish your calories? And I'll go for Lucozade Sports for replenishment after, because there's not much data on it, unlike the more traditional sports split. Then the weather, yes, as the ambient temperature increases, you need to take more. You need to take more fluid. It doesn't matter the fluid. If it's 40 degrees, you need to drink more often. You all remember the World Cup in 1990 in the US, where they played matches at noon. Players were drinking every 5 minutes. But if you are playing qualifiers in the evening, your fluid requirement is not as much as in the afternoon, because you're going to lose less.
Thank you, Dr. Blue. I think Dr. Battle has a contribution to make.
Yeah, I just have a question for Dr. Blue and Dr. Anand, and this is from the point of view of, in trying to build up sports in the developing world, in Ghana and other countries, it's not everybody that can afford these sport drinks, energy drinks. And also for the players themselves, I think some of the difficulty is when you mention that certain recommended foods are hamburgers or French fries or whatever. So I'm just asking a simple question: are there any of the local drinks or foods that you can just put into perspective, whether it is 2 balls of kenke or some coconut milk or mango, in terms of the things that your average person in the village or the small town can use to keep the energy going?
Okay, it's a traditional hockey pitch. It's a hockey pitch. I mean, you almost you go to the pitch in the morning, and people come in and drinking outside cocoa.
Outside cocoa.
Yes, it contains a lot of complex carbohydrates, but they're simple. It's not the best drink, but that gives you calories. Then once again, water. Once it's less than an hour, 1 hour, water is more than adequate. It's only when you go beyond 1 hour then you need something to add. And there's a challenge to our pharmacist who is here that we need an energy drink. Okay, a sports drink. And a sports drink is not only consumed by sportsmen. Half of the kids on the streets selling water all get dehydrated. In fact, they exert themselves more than us. They probably need it more than us. Those doing the payday, is it by the day, the wallas, they all need some form of drink.
Which is why, like you said, which is why we need a local sports nutritionist to combine all these. Can be done to create a kind of a sports drink that's quite suitable for.
What about sports food?
And they have something like that peculiar to them.
Yes. What about sports food?
Yes, it can be done.
Sports food, yam or cassava.
It can be done, actually.
I believe cassava became a tropical issue, so maybe cassava will be good. But let me take the doctor.
Yes. My question is to seen on these doctors that I don't know, you have your physiotherapies and all of that allied health professional along with you. Do you keep different bags? Or is everything is inside your bag?
No, you keep different bags.
Okay.
There's, like I said, the most important thing is you look at the personnel you have in hand.
Okay.
A lot of times you may not even have a doctor accompanying the team. It's a mazer. And then there are times that you'll be lucky to have a full complement. So depending on your staff situation, then you know what to take and what to leave for somebody else.
Okay, thank you.
Just a comment on that. On the doctor's class, you have from first aid, physical therapists, nurses, all looking at the team. Everybody keeps his or her own bag. Depending on your qualification or your expertise, there are some drugs you are not allowed to handle. So I can put morphine in my sports bag, but maybe he is not allowed to do that. So the mere fact that it's sports medicine doesn't mean that you should step on the line, otherwise you can get into trouble for giving propofol to Michael Jackson.
Dr. Conrad said about the foods that we have in Ghana.
That's right.
Just to contribute to that topic. I think we have a lot of things. Kenke is good.
But I take 2 hours to the...
No, I'll come to it.
You can't take
I'll come to it. We are talking about nutrition in general, not pre-competition and all that. Kenke is good, yam is good, gari is good, our fish and all stuffs are good. It's a matter of varying what you eat. You can't eat kenke every day after let's say a training session. You're supposed to have a high carbohydrate meal. You can't eat kenke every day. You can't eat kenke and fish every day. You must vary your meal because we have a lot of nutritious meals around. So you don't need the beef burgers and the French fries or chickens and all that. The key thing is to vary your meals. When it comes to pre-tournament, then the main, what do you call it, manipulation of diets and stuff coming. But in general, we have the foods here, and there's no need why we should think about having burgers.
As an end, during Dr. Buckle's presentation, he made us realize that there can be the possibility of a casualty resistance from being attended to by any of us here. And I would like to know the package being made available for such scenarios. As CMT going to the aid of a player on the pitch due to the language barrier. What has been established for?
What do you mean? What you say? Package for
such scenarios? A scenario where a casualty is down, and then in my capacity,
You don't understand the language.
in my capacity, going there as a first aider to assist. Now, I'm not, how do you call it, bilingual per se.
Yeah.
Maybe the casualty is a French national. How do I relate?
I think I'll just answer that simply by saying, as health professionals, if you have any intention of working with other people of different cultures or languages or background, it is in your personal interest, just out of courtesy, to at least learn 1 or 2 bits of their language, or to prepare before you travel. If that is not possible, I think universally, if I go to China, I will use sign language to try and get my message across. If a Chinese comes here and he doesn't speak English, they will lose, and there are some certain symbols and things which by your facial expression and your body language, you can try to reassure somebody or to explain to them. The other thing is, I think Dr. Engman will probably agree with me here, the different teams come with their own interpreters. Some of the foreign things will have, and in such a situation, it may very well be that somebody like that may be called from the sideline or even from the stands to come and explain a situation, you know, so that you can manage the patient. But you just have to try your best. And I think most of the time our body language as professionals, health professionals, whatever your capacity, will indicate to the injured person that you are there to help them and not to harm them.
Mrs. Anand?
Yes. Just to add to Dr. Anand's and Dr. Vokal's point, one thing that is really important is education too. Even before the players come here, they need to be educated that there could be some things like that. Because an injured player might be under stress, and trying to calm the person down, we might not even think about it. But if they are educated prior to that before something like this can happen, and you could have people coming to your aid. So you just have to trust them that they will be there. They are all there as a team to help you to recover quickly as possible. Because once somebody is on the floor, they get stressed, and different things come in from one thing to the other. So they know already that they are here to help me, so that it eliminates like suing and all those things.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Anand. Let's now take Dr. Anand. This is the last person who can speak, and then we'll bring this session to a close. Dr. Anand, please.
Okay.
Just sorry. After Dr. Anand, Madam will speak.
Okay, then let me know.
Okay.
Yeah, speaking from the first aider's point of view, I need a little clarification on the use of the AED. Because the gentleman said you use it to restart the heart. Would you wait for the heartbeat to go off completely before you start using the AED?
No, if you have the facilities available and you suspect that there may be something, for example, from the team doctor's point of view, you may know from your medical profile of the team that one or other player has some possibility of a cardiac arrhythmia. They are on medication, but if something like that happens, you know, and straight away you want to put it on so that the machine can start monitoring the heartbeat. On the other hand, if you check for the pulse and there is no pulse, the basic training, and these automatic defibrillators are supposed to be in all public places, sports facilities, etc., so that people can just take it off the wall, apply the pads, and listen to what the machine tells them. Step 1, step 2, step 3. So you are not intending to wait for the heart to stop, but the machine will detect whether there is activity or not, and whether a shock needs to be given or not. So we just used it to demonstrate, and it's fortunate that this team has it on the ambulance. So I asked them to bring it to demonstrate that these are some of the scenarios, and even on the pitch. So a scenario like this, the referee will actually have to stop and hold a match, because the person controlling the casualty's neck is the only one who dictates when the patient can move. So even if it's 30 minutes and you're having to do something for the life of the patient, they will stay on the pitch, and the game will have to be suspended until the person can safely be moved. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Anand.
Yeah, and to add to Conrad's, I've got 2 other points, but very quickly to add to what Conrad said, I think one of the things we all should do is, once there's a casualty, you have to take the defibrillator with you at all times. That's what I think should happen, because these things some of these players can actually surprise you. You know, suddenly there's no pulse. You then have to call out for the defib, and that takes time.
Yeah.
The whole place is chaotic, so it might take time. So take it with you all the time. You never know what will happen. And the other thing is, sometimes it's rare, but it can happen, where, for instance, I don't know if you've heard of Eduardo's injury. Eduardo's Arsenal player's injury. What happened was, nobody was prepared for that. But what happened was, once that injury happened, the sports physician there, who actually taught me, what he did was,
He looked at the scenario and he just went for it without the referee telling him to go in. Because he only had about 2 minutes. Because 2 of the big arteries in the ankle was almost severe. So all he had to do was to align the ankles together, to allow flow. That's all he had to do. But you can imagine if he had waited for the referee, it would have taken about 3 minutes or so, and the guy would have lost his limb. You see, so and that supersedes what we know. We know what we all know about CPRs and so on. You see, that's one. And 2, the other thing is sometimes, again, it rarely happens, but you have to keep in mind catastrophic circulation disorders. I mean, like somebody's been knifed or a fractured ankle dislocation, which is actually severe the vessel. You need to focus on that. You know, the first thing you do, you ask the patient or the player, how are you doing? Once he says, I'm all right, then you know more than 50% of the circulation is probably working. Then you home in on what can kill the player.
Or make them lose their
exactly. So
limb,
you go in and then stop the bleeding. So these are the bits I want to put across.
Thank you very much. I know a lot more people would have wished to ask questions or contribute, but for time constraints, I believe you pardon me if I didn't call you. It's not because I don't like you, but then for the want of time. I believe that with this question and answer session, the session is now closed. Thank you very much. I've been your moderator, Michael Kofi.
Thank you very much. I think we move on to the next session. Are we ready, please?